What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I hope you guys have had a great weekend. I hope the start of your week is off to a good start. Welcome back to another episode of Monday Evening Quarterback. My name is Christian Simpson, and I am the creator, founder, and I'm the NFL/college football analyst of a company called the Daily Blitz, where we specialize in everything football 24/7, 365. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a rough one for me the last couple of weeks. The reason why I was not on last week, and I'd be crazy if I didn't acknowledge this before the show started. I wanted to do it now and not at the end because I thought it was that important. November 9th, my world really took a turn in a completely different direction that I thought, excuse me, it would never go in. For many years in my family, Elizabeth Capers Mitchell was known as Sis. That was a nickname. To me, she was something completely different. She was my grandmother, and on that day, November 9th, almost 2 weeks to the day, tomorrow, she gained her wings and made a peaceful transition. Now, she lived an amazing life. She was 78 years old. The man upstairs needed her more, and I'm just so happy that she's free of pain. She's free of sickness and what was troubling her health-wise. Same thing I said with my grandfather, I could apply it to my grandmother now. I can wake up each morning and I can go to bed every night knowing that neither one of them are in pain. Last week was the funeral. It was tough, but it was a homegoing celebration. It was a peaceful celebration as she would have wanted. Nobody deserves to live in sickness and suffering and anything like that. So I'm glad she's at peace. I want to thank everybody who's been in consistent contact with me over the last couple of weeks, just to check on me, whether it's been a phone call, whether it's been a text, or any form of communication. I say that not just on my behalf, but on behalf of my family, because you guys have asked about them as well. There's no more pain, like I said, and everything I do it to honor her. Have another angel. That's the best way I could look at it. Having got a little sweeter. Now, she was a sweetheart, one of the greatest people that you could come in contact with, and I'm just glad that I'll forever have her with me, and I'm so grateful that I had her for 30 years of my life. I kind of laugh about it. Last year I lost my grandfather. This year I lose my grandmother. I don't laugh about that. I laugh at the fact of my grandfather, who was a very stubborn man. He sees my grandmother up there, and I can hear him now. The hell you doing up here? So that, thinking about that genuinely puts a smile on my face, and I just wanted to speak from the heart, make sure I honored my grandmother before I kicked off the show. Now, football-wise, I'm going to talk about what caught my eye in college football. Week 12, we're almost at the finish line of the regular season. Week 11 of the NFL concludes tonight, started on Thursday. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give away some game balls. We're going to go to the phone lines, and then I'm going to promote, and that's how I'm going to end the show. It sounds like a plan. So college football, this was a crucial Saturday in college because you have teams still trying to make that push for the playoffs. You have teams who are in the playoff bracket falling short. Look at Oregon. Oregon is the one I think that really stood out to me. I had that game against Utah at Salt Lake City, and they didn't show up. Now, if this game were in Eugene, we'd probably be looking at a completely different result, but they did not show up. And Oregon has an identity. They want to run the football. They want to pound the rock, run the ball in between the tackles, and they weren't able to do that. Utah made sure that they put the game in the hands of Anthony Brown, and they did it all night long. Utah's offense got it rolling. That was really my first time watching Cameron Rising playing, and I was pretty impressed with him. He has such command and control of that offense. He can He can move the pocket, make throws on the run, and he has that arm to where he can complete all the passes. Utah ran the ball consistently. Oregon just couldn't get out their way on Saturday night. I know coming into the playoff rankings for last week, they were number 3. So Georgia was 1, as expected. Bama was 2, as expected. Oregon was 3, and Ohio State was 4, because Oregon has the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Ohio State Buckeyes. Utah won that game 38-7. Just a dominant performance, and I have a feeling we're going to see this matchup again in a few weeks. This time for the Pac-12 Division Conference Championship. Oregon, I think, won the North. I think Utah clinched the Pac-12 South the other day. And, yeah, we're going to see part 2 of that. I did preview that one on the website last week. What's a show without a shameless plug? Notre Dame finally put it all together. Now, I'll admit, I've been highly critical of Notre Dame throughout the year, because sometimes I felt they would play down to the competition. Sometimes I felt they would slip up, or they would get off to a slow start and then find themselves coming back in the game. And there wasn't any of that on Saturday. They played Georgia Tech, won that game 55-0. Tommy Rees, the former Notre Dame quarterback, who's now the offensive coordinator for Brian Kelly's staff, has really opened up the playbook. He's really allowed Cone to be who he wants to be. The offensive line's getting pushed up front, and Kyron Williams is running the ball. He's their best playmaker on the offensive side. The defense put it all together, and they have been, even without Kyle Hamilton, who I feel is a top 5 or 10 prospect in next year's draft. I think he's next from a defensive standpoint. Can't wait to see what this kid does at the next level. Notre Dame got a little bit of help because Oregon did lose, so now Notre Dame should move up in the rankings tomorrow. Michigan playing Maryland, and we know that teams can look ahead to big opponents, as I always like to say. And I know I sound like a broken record player when I say it, but it's true. That wasn't the case on Saturday against Maryland. Cade McNamara played well. They were able to run the football. The defense gave up a play or two here and there, but played pretty well for the most part. They won that game on Saturday. So Michigan right now is 10-1 with one more game to go, and I think we know who that's going to be against. And that just leads me to my next game, Michigan State, Ohio State. Now, this was the game of the day. College Game Day was there. Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit were on the call. It's always special to preview these top 10 matchups. I remember previewing Michigan State and Ohio State in 2015, and coming into the game, there was a little bit of that vibe. I felt Heisman candidates were in this game, with Kenneth Walker III and C.J. Stroud, who's been playing at a very high level the last couple of games. Ohio State's really been playing well since that loss to the Oregon Ducks. Michigan State, what were they going to do? This was their chance to show themselves to the world and who they really were. And I don't think Michigan State came to play. Well, obviously, because of the score. The score was 56-7 at the hands of the Ohio State Buckeyes over Michigan State. But this was Ohio State's most complete win of the year. Shut down Kenneth Walker, put the game in the hands of Peyton Thorne. He couldn't get anything going. But how about this Ohio State offense? They have 3 wide receivers who can quietly dominate a secondary. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's more than your typical slot receiver because he can go over the top. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who I think is the best out of all 3 of them. C.J. Stroud just had one hell of a game. One dominant performance, and to me, that performance on Saturday put him in the running right now as the favorite for the 2021 Heisman Trophy presentation. What a game. That I always say, Heisman candidates need to have that Heisman moment, and he had his. Ohio State, Michigan, Saturday morning, which I will be previewing on the site about an hour or two before the game. So be on the lookout for that. I'm always honored to preview that matchup. Remember the first time I previewed it, did it in 2016, previewed the one a year after that in 17, previewed it in 18, and I believe I did preview it in 2019 as well, if I'm not mistaken. Last year they didn't play because of COVID-19, and finally we're going to get the matchup at the Big House once again. That place is going to be rocking. I know College Game Day will be there. I cannot wait to give my thoughts on it. I already started brainstorming my thoughts and watching the tape of the game. More games that caught my eye on Saturday. Alabama. Now they play Arkansas, and look, you'd think that'd be an easy win for Alabama, but that wasn't the case. I'm kind of concerned about Alabama's defense moving forward. They gave up 35 points to Arkansas, a team that's no slouch. They've been tough all year long, and look, Alabama's offense, they came ready to play. Bryce Young had the game of his life. I think he's probably second behind C.J. Stroud right now for the Heisman Trophy. Threw for 561 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Alabama did clinch the SEC West, which I think everybody saw coming, and they have punched their ticket once again to the SEC title game, where they will play the Georgia Bulldogs. And I think this is a matchup we all predicted in September. Georgia had a scrimmage against Charleston Southern. Look, I don't know the way to put it or call it, because that really wasn't a game for Georgia. Now, they close out against Georgia Tech on Saturday. Alabama closes up against Auburn in another edition of the Iron Bowl on Saturday afternoon. How about Oklahoma? Oklahoma lost that game to Baylor last week, and give Dave Aranda and Baylor a ton of credit, because they really made Oklahoma a one-dimensional football team. They put a ton of pressure on Caleb Williams, something he hadn't really seen since becoming a starter. And Baylor's defensive front, they really overwhelmed Oklahoma's offensive line, and they paid for it. I was thinking they kind of come out with a chip on their shoulder on Saturday against Iowa State, but that wasn't the case. They won. It was a closely contested game. And when I look at Oklahoma, they're fighting right now for a playoff spot. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They have their edition of Bedlam on Saturday. That's Oklahoma State, which I am previewing tomorrow on the website. Rivalry week in college football and conference championship Saturday in college football are amongst two of my favorite weeks of the season, and that's gonna be fun to watch for sure. Cincinnati dominated SMU on Saturday. Another quality performance from Desmond Ridder, and Oklahoma did beat Iowa State 28-21. How about Wake Forest? Now, they've had a nice year under Dave Clawson, going into Death Valley to play the Clemson Tigers, and Clemson beat them by 21, 48-27. Best game of the year from Clemson. It was a nice run for Wake Forest, but they're going to probably get a New Year's Six bowl. Let's put it that way. And they'll probably be in the ACC Championship. Michigan won 59-18. Baylor beat Kansas State 20-10. As I said at the top of the show, Utah beat Oregon 38-7, and Oklahoma State dominated Texas Tech by a score of 23-0. That's all I pretty much have for college football. Now, before I give out a game ball, let me predict what I think the playoff rankings are going to be. So nothing's going to change with number one. That's Georgia. Been the most dominant team in the country. I don't think anything else really needs to be said. 2, Alabama. Alabama, been the second best team all year long behind, you guessed it, the Georgia Bulldogs. 3, I think it's going to be Ohio State. Now, Ohio State got that quality win the other day, and that's going to really stand out to the committee tomorrow night. I can't wait to hear what their explanation is of that. But Ohio State's going to be number 3, and then number 4, I'm going to say Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati finally gets up there. At 5, Michigan. At 6, maybe Oklahoma. It's possible, but we shall see. Now, let's give out a game ball. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to get it. It's C.J. Stroud of the Ohio State Buckeyes. C.J. had the game of his life on Saturday afternoon. 32 of 35 completed passes, 432 yards, completed 13.5 yards per pass attempt, 432 yards passing, as I said, and 6 touchdown passes. 5 of them were in the first half in the dominant win over the Michigan State Spartans. And as I said, he's my projected favorite right now to win the Heisman Trophy. Before I transition over into the NFL, we're going to go to the phone lines. Let's listen to what some people had to say.
Caller, you're on with the analyst on Monday Evening Quarterback. How can I help you today?
Just calling to tap in with you and submit a question or two. First one that comes to mind is what's going on with Kansas City now? What's going on with Kansas City? Because they've been having a hard time. They had a hard time today, barely made it out with the Packers. You want to break that down?
Yeah, definitely. All right, this is Rob, isn't it? Because I recognize the voice. Yeah. So for everybody who knows me, Rob is one of my closest friends, and I actually have my hometown of Harlem, New York, tatted on me. So he's giving me the nickname Harlem. I can't even remember the last time he called me by my first name.
Government name.
Right. But now with Kansas City, there's no confidence with them. You see what I'm saying? They used to have a swagger about them where they could go into games and they could say, look, you know what, we're just flat out better than you, we're faster than you, we're stronger than you, we have more tempo. And I feel teams have really caught up to them now, because now defenses know how to play them. You have Tampa Bay for kind of unveiling the blueprint, and teams that kind of put their own little sprinkle and their own little twist on it. You rush 4, you drop everybody back, and when you think of the Chiefs and their offense, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Them taking shots down the field, right? Now, teams are forcing them to earn everything underneath. 5 yards, little dink and dumps, forcing Mahomes to throw it sooner than he wants to. He's turning the ball over a lot. So they just don't have that confidence that they once did all those years ago.
Do you think they can turn it around?
Yeah, but they're going to have to get consistent. And I think they need another weapon because, look, Tyreek Hill, you know what you're going to get from him. You know what you're going to get from Travis Kelce. But say those two have off games. Who can Mahomes turn to? You see what I mean? So, it's so key and it's so crucial to have a solid number 2 option. You would think it's McCole Hardman, but he's more of a slot guy. They need a possession guy. They need a guy who can, just go up and go get the football. And they don't have that right now. They have speedsters.
Right. All right, great breakdown. So, my second question, this is more about free agency. Von Miller, what is he going to bring to the Rams once he actually gets acclimated to his new surroundings? What do you expect out of that?
Horror.
That's going to affect the Rams as well.
He's going to bring horror. Because, look, you have 3 top 10 defensive players on one team. You had Jalen Ramsey in the back end. You have Aaron Donald, and now you add Von Miller. And it's almost like, okay, who is the coach going to zoom in on? You know what I'm saying? Who is the coach gonna take away? Is he gonna double Aaron Donald and leave Von Miller in a one-on-one situation, or do you double Von and do you let Aaron Donald create havoc up front? So he's gonna bring. I think the most important thing that he brings to the table, Rob, is championship pedigree. He's won a Super Bowl, so that experience and that veteran leadership is. That's going to stand out when it matters most, like now in November and going into December and then going into January and so forth.
All right, man. I appreciate the breakdown.
Okay, before I let you go, there's always one question that I ask all my listeners and my viewers and supporters. What's your favorite thing about the Daily Blitz?
My favorite thing? Ooh, man. It's hard to pick one thing, but I like the headlines. How you use song titles for that. I mean, it always hooks me in, and it gets me excited when I can make a connection with something outside of sports as well. Because music and sports, they kind of go hand in hand. You see ball players trying to be rappers. Rappers always talk about, they drop, ball references in their rhymes and whatnot. So I think that's a cool connection to put on the blog as well. So something different.
Definitely, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming on Monday, Even the Quarterback. The doors at MEQ are always open to you anytime you want to chat, okay?
Sounds good, my man.
Caller, you're on with the analyst on Monday, Even Quarterback. How can I help you today?
Chris, what's going on?
Oh, man. Okay. Before we even get into this convo, you know how you guys always hear me shout out my cousin / big brother, Sean Jameson. This is Sean right here in the flesh. Well, not in the flesh, but, he on the phone right now. So what's going on, man? Talk to me.
What's going on, man? The season is going real good. I'm excited about Cam getting back to Carolina, man. Just because when I used to live in Charlotte, Cam Newton was there. I was there for the whole run with Cam Newton. It was amazing the way he was winning. He was leading the city. The city was just so fun. It was exciting. Super Bowl run and everything. So hopefully, we'll get that feeling back for the next couple years or so, as far as Cam's career going. And also the Rams, man. The Rams with their pickups. Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr., they are gearing up for the Super Bowl, man. They really gearing up. They really putting on attention for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because...
It's really interesting.
Man, let me tell you. Okay, the first thing about Cam, I'm happy he's back in the league. So many people in sports nowadays like to say a guy's washed up when he's not being used the right way. Let's be real here.
Right.
How could Cam Newton have succeeded in New England last year, right? With what weapons? And think of the scenario that he came in. We're in the midst of a pandemic. There's no training camp. And he can't really learn the playbook. And on top of that, he was struck with COVID himself. And it seems like after that, he could never really bounce back from that. You see what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
And as far as the Rams and Odell, look, the NFC is wild right now. You have Tampa Bay, you have Green Bay, you have Dallas, you have Arizona, and you have these Rams. And the Rams are really trying to separate themselves from the pack in the NFC. But I will say this, the Rams kind of showed some vulnerabilities last week because that offensive line was attacked left and right. What Tennessee did, they ran what's called a delayed blitz. So they rushed for, and then they would send a blitzer at the last minute, and Matthew Stafford could never really adjust to it.
Exactly. That's exactly what they did, yeah, because Tennessee's defense is not way better than since last season.
Oh, for sure.
Way better, so.
For sure.
They're looking like a dark horse for the Super Bowl right now, too.
And I'll tell you this, too. I think the Derrick Henry injury might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because think about it. Once the playoffs come around, he's usually tired because he's used so much. He's getting that rest, so he's going to have his legs underneath him come playoff time.
That's if he comes back, though.
I think he's going to come back. I really do.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come back.
I feel like he will. I feel like he may, too, but, it's just something. Those foot injuries can go back and forth. You never know sometimes. They don't want to put in a further injury state. So maybe he'll come back, maybe not. But I'll definitely keep my eye on that. Moving for more him to come back for real.
Yeah, definitely.
You just gotta, especially with this season, as he got the most carries in the league, but in the last 2-3 years, some people got to nurse with that too.
And you know what's funny, man? Someone tagged me in something on Facebook. They were like, Derrick Henry is a modern day Christian Okoye. I said, no, he's faster than Okoye was. And then someone told me that Derrick Henry was like a modern day Jerome Bettis. I said, no, he's faster than Jerome.
Way
faster, way stronger and way more speed to get up the field. So what else is on your mind football wise, man?
Man, I'm ready to see what happens in this college football season because it's getting to these top 4 teams. Man, I'm just ready to see who the CFB is going to put in the Final Four because it's going to be.
I look at it like this. How crazy would it be? I'm not saying it'll happen, but how crazy would it be if Georgia really lost the game, which I don't see happening, and then they go into that SEC title game against Alabama, and that's a playing game because the winner's going to advance and the loser's going to go home because the committee has never allowed a 2-loss team into the playoffs, and they're not about to start this time soon. So we know for a fact Georgia is the number 1 team in the country. They've given up 59 points this entire year alone. Look, I was telling somebody this last week on Monday Evening Quarterback. This is their best shot at winning this year. If they don't win it this year, they will never win it.
I wouldn't say never, but it's their best shot this year to win it.
Right, man.
And another point too, Georgia being undefeated, Bama's number 2 now. If Bama was to beat Georgia would only go down to number 4 because that'll be the 1 loss of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They would only go down to number 4 and they'll be it, or number 3, and then be CFB.
Right.
So Georgia lose, they'll still be in it because remember, what was it about 3 or 4 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago. Remember, we had a Georgia-Bama final.
Yeah, we sure did. And that's when we were introduced to Tua. Yup.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly.
So it's looking like that same scenario again this year. Alabama, I think they won that SEC championship. No. Yeah, I think Alabama won the SEC championship. But Georgia was undefeated, I believe, or something like that.
Nah, that year, Georgia won the SEC championship.
Georgia won the SEC championship, and Bama came up with the 4 at 4.
Yup, and then that, Yup.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Looking at a similar situation.
I can see that. Now, Sean, where I end every call, I always ask people what their favorite thing about the Daily Blitz is. So I present that question to you. What's your favorite thing about the Daily Blitz?
Favorite thing about Daily Blitz is ground up. It's Christian is running everything. He's operating everything. He does diligent research on every single player, every single team. And not only just looking at that, you know the X's and O's, coverage schemes, everything from that situation too. So and then you basically doing it by yourself for the most part. So that's just having that ground up and just it's yours. Just knowing that it's yours and you put so much effort to it. And I'm proud of you. You already know we talk about this all the time. Going back and forth, last about 5, 6, 7 years with this.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on, Sean. The doors, MEQ are always open. We got to do this again, okay?
Already.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. You too.
We're going to go back to the phone lines in a little bit, but you're probably listening and you're probably wondering, can that be me? Absolutely, it could be you. Let me know when you want to be on Monday Evening Quarterback. The phone lines are always open. I take phone calls all the time. Actually about to take a few tonight and throughout the rest of the week, but before we go to the rest of the phone calls, I wanted to get into the NFL because yesterday was as wild of a day as I've seen in all my years of covering the NFL. So it was week 11, and it was not a good day to be a division leader yesterday. 4 division leaders lost. The Tennessee Titans, they were stunned at the hands of the Houston Texans, and I think they were looking ahead to New England. They play the Patriots next week. Another one I'll be previewing on the site. You look at Tennessee, ever since Derrick Henry went down, they've been winning with defense. They dominated the Rams with defense. They needed defense to get by the Saints the week before in week 10. Yesterday, their defense didn't show up, and Ryan Tannehill threw the ball too much, and he threw 4 interceptions. Tennessee still has to run the football. Now, I know Derrick isn't there, but they still got to run the ball because that's their identity. That offensive line is built to run block. Put hands in the dirt, get downhill, And that can allow Ryan Tannehill to use his play action and take those shots over the top to A.J. Brown or Julio Jones if he stays on the field and if he's healthy. But yeah, Tennessee did not show up yesterday. That's one I definitely did not see coming. The Dallas Cowboys. Now, they played the Kansas City Chiefs. It was the first matchup between Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. Really didn't like the way Kansas City's offense looked yesterday, especially with how they looked in Vegas the week before. But I like what I saw from the defense. They made Dallas one-dimensional. Kind of took a page out of the Broncos playbook where you stop the run, you put the game in the hands of Dak Prescott. And when you do that, when you play the Cowboys, you beat them because they struggle with it. Dallas's identity is running the football. But then again, you look at Mike McCarthy, he's never been a coach that's really thrived or depended on running the football. Look at his days in Green Bay, because I could tell you now, if he were coaching the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Jones would be an afterthought right now. Speaking of the Packers, I knew that was a trap game from the minute I saw it. Minnesota always plays them tough, especially in Minnesota. And here's my thing. If you know that there's a weapon wide receiver who is going to get the ball, and you know they're going to continuously feed him the ball, double him. Minnesota kept playing Devontae Adams in single coverage across the board, and Green Bay did the same thing. So on social media, if you guys have followed me, I've always been saying, and I've been telling some other people off the microphone, with Green Bay, their defense has improved, but I don't know if I still trust them, because I was just waiting for that one moment for them to come back to reality, and lo and behold, it happened yesterday against the Vikings. Didn't double Justin Jefferson, couldn't really put any pressure on Kirk Cousins. This is where I think they really missed Rashawn Gary, because he's really emerged as one of their best pass rushers. He didn't play yesterday, but it seemed like Green Bay couldn't get to Kirk Cousins yesterday without blitzing. Aaron Rodgers played a great game. He did what he did. Devontae Adams had a couple of scores. Rodgers spread the ball around. Hopefully they get Aaron Jones back, because he means a lot to that Green Bay offense. And hopefully this Green Bay defense can bounce back, and they can prove to me why I need to trust them. But they fell short yesterday at the hands of the Vikings, 34-31. It came down to literally the final 3 seconds. Green Bay has a huge game this upcoming weekend. Another one I'm previewing. I'm just full of shameless plugs today. They play the Los Angeles Rams in a playoff rematch, and it could be a potential playoff preview or of a thing of what's to come. So I talked about the Packers, I talked about the Titans, I talked about the Cowboys. Let's talk about another division leader, because one week I'm on their bandwagon, next week they show me why I shouldn't be on the bandwagon, and I think you know who I'm talking about, right? The Buffalo Bills. Now, they had a great year last year. They were a game away from the Super Bowl, and coming into this year, they were considered to be a contender. I don't know if I can put them at the contender table right now, because one week their offense is sharp, the next week their offense doesn't show up. Look at Jacksonville. They played the Jaguars a couple of weeks ago, and that was a defensive struggle. Their defense showed up, but the offense only put up 6 points. And defenses are sitting at the line of scrimmage. They're dropping guys back, and they're playing zone, and it's confusing Josh Allen. But I think the biggest issue I have with the Buffalo Bills is their inability to run the football. They cannot pound the rock. Yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts, which was a playoff rematch from last year, which the Bills won, Buffalo yesterday only ran the football 8 times. That's not going to cut it. You got to be able to run the football in this game, especially now when the weather is getting colder and you really can't throw the ball as many times as you want to. You got to pound that rock. In between the trenches, I just think this offense is a little too dependent on Josh Allen. They feel he can bail them out every single time, and it's not going to always be like that. The Colts. Now, the Colts got off to a little bit of a rocky start. I believe they started 1-4. But look at who they played earlier in the year. Rams, Seattle, Tennessee, Baltimore. And what do all those teams have in common? They all made the playoffs last year, right? That's a tough slate of games to open your season with, but they've really settled in. Carson Wentz looks comfortable. The offensive line, they finally got back to playing bully ball yesterday. I feel when this offensive line is physical and they're playing downhill, they are the nastiest group in the National Football League, anchored by Quentin Nelson. And they run the football. Jonathan Taylor, and you guys know my rule. You better have game if you have 2 first names, and I loved him when he was at Wisconsin. I thought he was a stud in Wisconsin. I said, look, get him in the NFL and let's see what he can do. And yesterday was his coming out party. Let's put it that way. I mean, he dominated the line of scrimmage, and the Buffalo Bills had no answer for it. Now, coming into the game, I kept saying the key to that game would be which defense would stand out and who controlled the clock better. And that was Indianapolis by a landslide. The Colts won that game yesterday 41-15. They're making things interesting in the AFC. I think this team can make the playoffs. I know my guy on the prime, David Hoffman, who I'm about to speak with in a little bit, he was pretty high on the Colts coming into the year, and now I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Indy. But Buffalo, they got to get it together. I know they have a short week. They play the New Orleans Saints on Thursday night. It's going to be tough for them to run the football, but they got to attempt to do something. And someone else made a good point when I was talking to them off the air. Outside of Stephon Diggs, who's that other weapon that Josh Allen can really depend on? You know what Stephon's going to do. You know Josh is going to look his way 9 times out of 10, right? But Emmanuel Sanders, he's older. He's past his prime. He knows his role, but can he be that consistent number 2 option? Cole Beasley, I know he's in and out the lineup, and he can be hit or miss. Dawson Knox, I think, can emerge as that number 2 weapon, but he needs to be more consistent. So it's almost like the Kansas City Chiefs. After Travis Kelce and after Tyreek Hill, who's that other weapon? I think the same question can be posed to the Buffalo Bills. After Stephon Diggs, who can Josh Allen turn to? So you double Stephon Diggs. Who do they turn to? I'll say this, in the next couple of weeks, we're about to see what the Buffalo Bills really are, because guess who's knocking at the door? Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots are the hottest team in the National Football League right now. They've won 5 or 6 in a row. I know they just dominated the Atlanta Falcons, which isn't really difficult to do. This is 2001 all over again for the New England Patriots, because when, I don't know, some kid named Tom came into the league then, they didn't have Brady do too much. They handed the ball off. Offensive line played well. He made throws when he had to. The most important message that they relayed to a young Tom Brady at that time was just control the clock, control the game, do not lose the football game. We have a defense that can get you the ball back, and we're going to play good. We're going to play well in special teams. So the Patriots now are doing that same exact game plan that I just listed from Mac Jones. They're running the football. They're playing downhill. Mac is completing passes, and everybody said he can't really throw the football. Go watch the tape. Look at that throw against Cleveland last week to Kendrick Bourne. In double coverage, Mac put the ball only to where he can get it, to where his intended receiver can get it, And that defense is so opportunistic. Matthew Judon is really paying dividends for this New England defense. And J.C. Jackson showed why Stephon Gilmore became expendable and why they got rid of him, because he pretty much does everything that Stephon can do. He can take away one whole side of the field and line up against your number 1 receiver. I cannot wait for that next game for New England. It's on to Tennessee, as Bill Belichick would say. Mike Vrabel played for Bill Belichick and was a key piece of those Super Bowls in the early 2000s when they won 3 of the 4, which started the first dynasty in Foxborough. He's now the head coach of Tennessee, going up against a guy that he says he has nothing but the utmost respect for in Bill Belichick. That's going to be interesting because Tennessee always seems to play New England tough, and the last time we saw them play, that was Tom Brady's final game as a Patriot, and the Titans won that game in the playoffs. I know one thing I want to touch base on, the Chicago Bears now. That was a tough loss for them. I knew a lot of people that were at that game yesterday. They played the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley out of Utah got the start, and the Bears played well for 3 quarters and most of the fourth. Andy Dalton came in because Justin Fields did get hurt. Baltimore came back, punched the ball down the field, and they ended up winning that game 16-13. That was my type of game, a defensive struggle. Bears defense did well for the most part all the way up until the end. There's no Khalil Mack for the rest of the year. He's opted to have foot surgery, and that will sideline him for the remainder of the season. I hope he gets back because he's one of the best defensive players in the league when he's on the field. He is such a force, and he creates so much havoc for any team trying to defend him. Baltimore, that's a gutsy win for them. No Lamar, you're on the road. Pretty hostile environment. You get the win. They play Cleveland next. Another game that will be previewed on the site. So you guys pretty much know what's being previewed on the site. And in case you're just tuning in, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Titans, Patriots, Browns, Ravens, Rams, Packers, and the game, Michigan, Ohio State on Saturday. I cannot wait. It's a pretty heavy slate of games for a holiday week. I wouldn't have it any other way. This NFL season is reminding me a lot of the 2010 campaign. There really wasn't a clear-cut favorite at that time. No one's really run away with anything. You thought it was Tennessee. They came back down to reality. You thought that was Green Bay. They lost yesterday. You think it's Buffalo. They show why I sometimes can't trust them. Could it be Tampa Bay? Arizona, they got back on track yesterday. I know there's no Kyler Murray. There's no DeAndre Hopkins. And honestly, there's no rush to bring them back. Let them rest. I'd rather have them healthy for a stretch run and a playoff run than to play them now. Colt McCoy is more than capable of handling the responsibilities as the starting quarterback. They're going to run the ball. That defense is very improved. Arizona became the first team yesterday to clinch a winning record in the NFL. They are 9-2. So, yeah, and they're closing in on the NFC West, a division that was gift wrapped to the Los Angeles Rams at the beginning of the year. When I look at Seattle, it's just a down year for them. I think Russell's still trying to get acclimated to gameplay. Once again, he hasn't looked good since he's come back. He's still rusty. That's what happens when you miss some time. And Carolina, Washington, what a scene that was yesterday for Cam Newton. Back to where it started in Charlotte. So happy for him. So many people said he's done, but he still has a lot of football left in him. I know he's a little bit older, but he's not that old where you think he just doesn't have it anymore. He still has it, still has the arm. He can still run, still feel he needs to play a little bit smarter. He needs to take a page out of Ben Roethlisberger's playbook. So remember when Ben used to hold on to the ball forever? He'd be using the pump fakes, and then he would run. Cam can't do that anymore. Now, you watch Ben, as he's older, he's getting rid of the ball quickly. As soon as it snaps, drops back in the pocket, it's at his hands in under 3 seconds. Cam needs to develop that type of play, and I think that'll make him last for a couple of years. Washington ended up winning that game yesterday. Remember, Ron Rivera was Carolina's coach, so he knew what Cam likes to do. Ran a lot of different looks and a lot of exotic schemes to keep the quarterback in the pocket. And Washington, they've won their last 2. Beat Tampa Bay the week before and beat Carolina yesterday. So let's give out a game ball. I think you guys know who the game ball is going to now for the NFL. It's Jonathan Taylor, 204 yards from scrimmage, 32 carries. Who carries the ball that many times now? 185 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also had a receiving touchdown, so he accounted for 5 touchdowns in the Colts' big win on the road yesterday against the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go back to the phone lines now. Let's see who I have talking to me now.
I have a very special caller on the line. Caller, you're on with the analyst on Monday Evening Quarterback. How can I help you?
Yo, what's going on, man? It's Nick, man. What's happening?
Is this the one and only Gran Oso Negro?
The one and only, man.
So let me tell you guys about Nick here. Nick gave me one of my first contribution roles, so I'll always be forever grateful to him. We have some things coming up very soon, some projects we're working on, but we're not about to get into that right now. What's on your mind? What's on your mind today, Nick?
Hey, man, so, I gotta ask you, man, it's all about the power struggle right now. We mentioned a little bit earlier, Green Bay goes down today.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Buffalo went down today.
Right.
Dallas is, if I'm not mistaken, they're losing at this point to Kansas City.
Right.
So I think my question is, I'm a diehard Bucks fan. We get the Giants tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how tight do you see these NFC and AFC races? Because think about it, bro. We're talking about the New England Patriots could be 2 weeks away from being the best team in the entire AFC.
Yeah, there's a lot of parity in the league. You know what this year reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of 2010 because there really wasn't a clear-cut favorite then. There's not a clear-cut favorite now. 1 week in the NFC, it's the Rams that are the best team in the NFC. Then it's you guys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then it's Green Bay. Then it's Arizona. Then it's Dallas. So right now, there's really no clear-cut favorite, and I think the same could be said about the AFC. But I'll also tell you, with the AFC, it seems like every week, 1 minute I'm on the Buffalo bandwagon, the next minute they show me why I shouldn't be on it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying on that. I mean, and you look at the game today, outside of Stephon Diggs, who's that next guy, for Buffalo? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, okay, so like Cole Beasley's trying to be that guy, but, I feel like he's more famous with Trump quotes or vaccine quotes than he is with anything else, and Dawson Knox really isn't that kind of like Travis Kelce, George Kittle like tight end. So I understand what you mean about Buffalo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you said it best with Tennessee losing. It just seemed like all the division leaders today ran into brick walls. Green Bay didn't show up. And here's my thing with Green Bay. I've been trying my absolute hardest to jump on the bandwagon with their defense, and today they showed me why. I simply can't trust them because they have been playing well the last couple of weeks. I will say that much, but today they like someone just told me they couldn't guard Justin Jefferson to save their life. Like if the guy is getting the ball nonstop, if the guy is getting the ball nonstop, double him. Take him away. Play some type of zone scheme over the top. You get what I'm saying? So
and then to your point, when they did on the interception by Savage, he can't hold on to it. And then they went away from bro, Kirk Cousins was pretty much telling you that I'm pretty much going to throw this ball to Justin Jefferson.
Basically.
You know what I'm saying? And so on the interception, or what we thought was an interception, was pretty much the blueprint, but then you went away from the blueprint because he caught a pass wide open on the very next play.
Right, exactly. Now, I know you wanted to come on here. You wanted to say a couple of things about your Buccaneers. The floor is yours.
Well, this is what I'll say, man. I think last week's game really was a wake-up call for the Bucs. We're going to get a little secondary help back because SMB looks like he's cleared to go for tomorrow.
Okay.
Hopefully we get CD3 back pretty soon. So it's just about the health right now with the Bucs. But they really miss Gronk and they really miss AB. O.J. Howard, for whatever reason, seems lost. Cameron Brate really isn't, he's not really he's a red zone tight end. He's not a guy that I need 10, 15 yards unless you're in the red zone,
Right.
So with not having one of your big pieces in AB and your reliable piece in Grunt, you can see Tom Brady's forcing a few things, guys trying to get open, but I think getting at least SNB back, it looks like Antonio Brown is still going to be out, for tomorrow's game, but it looks like he's on the right track of being back. So, this game tomorrow is huge because, we didn't mention it, but Carolina, Atlanta lost Thursday, New Orleans all lost. So this is a big chance for the Bucs to gain not only ground in the South, but also gain ground for that top spot in the NFC. But I wanted to ask you a question real quick before I go.
Okay.
I made this quote on draft night with the Bears. I said they made the right move for the wrong quarterback, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick with that because, and also I want to take a shot at the 49ers because a lot of people were swearing up and down that Trey Lance was going to be a much better quarterback. There's some dude named Mac Jones, which is all he did was lead Alabama to another national championship, and it's actually really good. And I'm going to stick to my guns. What do you think? Is it too early to tell? Or am I still on the right track of thinking that just Ohio State quarterbacks just don't flourish in the NFL?
Nah, I think it's kind of a mix of both. You're not wrong about Ohio State quarterbacks flourishing in the NFL, but Mac Jones has been the best rookie quarterback out of everybody this year. I mean, look at the position he's in. They're not having him do too much. They're not having him do too little. Like what you're seeing with the Patriots right now, it's kind of like 2001 all over again. You see what I'm saying? Like when Brady first came into the league, just running the ball, kind of controlling things, playing opportunistic defense, and then winning with special teams. So they're winning not just in 2 phases of the game, but all 3 phases of the game, man. That's why Bill Belichick is the best coach in the league, man.
Yeah, most definitely. That Patriots defense is really stout. We've seen it over the last couple of weeks. Maybe even the last 3 weeks on how good this defense can be. And like you mentioned, we got 9 guys coming back from that defense last year. With Stephon Gilmore even being gone. This team was good. It's just I'm looking for Matt. If New England can get that one wide receiver for Mac Jones. I think New England's still going to be. Are they going to be Super Bowl bound? Like we don't know, but are they going to be giving Buffalo fits for the AFC East? Most def.
Right now, Nick. Before I let you go, I ask every caller this one question: what's your favorite thing about the Daily Blitz?
My favorite thing about the Blitz gotta be the name titles, bro. I'm a huge fan. They always make sense. They're clever, they're slick. I always see you with the previews on, your personal snaps and stuff. They're all, they all make sense and they're all really slick. So I think if there's one thing, if I can think of one thing outside of the box, except for the obvious norm, huge fan of the titles, man.
I appreciate that, man, and I appreciate you coming on to Monday Evening Quarterback to chat with me. The doors of MEQ are always open for you, so you let me know when you want to come back, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Man, my callers are so incredible. I can't thank you guys enough for taking some time to come on and talk to me, and I'm going to continue to do this. So if you were listening and you were intrigued by that and you want to be on Monday Evening Quarterback, let me know, and I will gladly get you on. We will set something up. Normally, this is the part of the show where I get questions, and I didn't get any today. I'm checking right now just to make sure that I didn't get any while I was recording this, and I didn't. So with that being said, I'm just going to end the show. You know how I like to always end the show with a little preview of Monday Night Football. New York Giants, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's another battle between Tom Brady and the New York Giants, and the Giants have not been friendly to him over the years. Super Bowl 42 and Super Bowl 46, I think, speak enough volume about that. But it seems like in the regular season, they always seem to play them tough. Last year, the Buccaneers and Giants played on Monday Night Football, and the Giants gave them all they could handle, and Tampa was able to escape. Could the Giants make some things interesting tonight? Possibly. You know what I always say when you play Tom Brady? If you play him in man coverage in the back end across the board, you better have the pass rushers to get home and throw him off his rocker. But like my phone call just said, he's supposed to get Gronk back tonight, and without Gronk and AB and some of those weapons that he's used to having, you see Brady pressing, and that's not Tom. I expect Tom to play with a chip on his shoulder. I just can't see Brady losing 3 in a row. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this football game tonight by a score of 38-20. I think Brady throws 4 touchdowns, 2 to Mike Evans, 1 to Chris Godwin, and 1 to Rob Gronkowski. I think the defense comes up and they get a couple of interceptions of Daniel Jones, and that's my prediction for Monday Night Football. And with that being said, that's my time. Time is a beautiful thing, especially when you're having fun. As always, this is where I always give a couple of shout outs. Huge shout out to my amazing mother, and make sure you keep her in your prayers, please, and thank you. I would appreciate that, and she would greatly appreciate that. Ma, I love you very much, and we are going to get through this. I promise you we will. My beautiful sister Taylor, love you very much and always proud of you. My dad, man, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done, everything you do now, and everything I know you're going to continue to do as time goes on. My other siblings, Tanisha, my cousins, but we're like brothers siblings. Brother, that's another brother, that's another sister. Sean, Janice. I want to give a huge shout out to the Fab Four: Jason Tyree, Robert Butler, Kimmel Fryer, Candace Carter, Rob Carter, some of my other friends, Mike Griffin, Alex Bennett, my other guy, Alex, but I call him Esquire because he looks like the character from ATL. Huge shout out to my co-analyst, Cole Johnson, better known as Coach, one of the true professionals in this industry, and our moderator, D. Can't wait to talk to those guys and show them this episode of Monday Evening Quarterback. And I want to thank you for tuning in, for sticking with me through a difficult patch in my life right now. With your support, I'm definitely going to get through this. It's going to take time, but one round at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. As Rocky said in the movie Creed, how can you keep up with me? Of course, log on to the website, which is thedailyblitz.blog. Become a subscriber today. Follow us on Twitter at dailyblitz_61. Like the Facebook fan page. Go to facebook.com and in the search box type in The Daily Blitz. Hit the thumb and like our page. Follow us on Instagram at The Daily Blitz _61. And you can keep up with me through the airwaves. Right after this, I'm going to the Prime. You can catch me on the Prime every Monday and Tuesday with David Hoffman, TJ Hopkins, Israel Rivera, Matt James. Every Wednesday, you can catch me on The Nerd Zone with Ronnie Kumpf, John Danzo, Christopher Lawrence, Ryan Shaw. Every Friday, you can catch me on College Football Showdown with Israel Rivera and Matt James, and sometimes TJ Hopkins when he wants to be on. And then every Sunday, you can catch me on The Sports Cubicle, which is on WCPT 820 AM in Chicago, Illinois. That is live AM radio. If you live outside the state of Illinois and you want to tune in to support, I will more than gladly send you the link. As always, I take phone calls throughout the week. Gonna take some more before I head over to the Prime. Guys, I was so happy to be back. You never know how much you miss something until you're away from it, and I was so looking forward to this, just being back in my normal routine, man. Thank God for this situation. I'm so blessed to be in this position right now. Enjoy Monday Night Football, and I want to be the first to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family enjoy good food, and most importantly, the football. It's not Thanksgiving without football, right? So, with that being said, that's my show. God willing, I will be back next Monday, as always, for another edition of Monday Evening Quarterback. I will see you guys soon.